Hello everybody, it's Siobhan again from At One Wellbeing. We put a post up on Fed Up to Fabulous earlier on to say I would be doing a video today on positive thinking and how to really identify our negative thinking styles and how we can then take steps to make our thinking a wee bit more positive. Because I'm sure, like myself, when you're reading the content on Fed Up to Fabulous, there's a really inspiring sense of positivity. And when I read posts that people put up and even the conversations that take place, I congratulate Nervin, number one, for creating that space for us to come together, to share positive things that are happening in our lives and to share stories of positivity. Because you know what? I know that when this lockdown started, that my positivity went woof, right down, hit the ground. And it took me a wee bit of time, effort and energy to really lift myself up again and to recognize that, thinking negatively about what was happening really wasn't, number one, wasn't making any difference to the situation that I was in. And number two, it was making me feel bad. And, I have this view that life is for living and I want to feel good as much as I possibly can. But there are some things that we can allow happen to ourselves. And sometimes it's so subconscious that we don't even realize what it is. And that is how we think about things. So what I'm going to talk about today is negative automatic thinking styles. And they're called negative automatic thinking styles because they're so automatic that we don't even notice. Like, have you ever driven along in the car, say from here to the shops or from, into work, and you get to work and you go, how did I get here? I have absolutely no memory of how I got to work. The journey took place and you weren't even present for that journey. And sometimes that happens to us as well when it comes to how we think about things. Have you ever found yourself in a position where you get up in the morning, you're like, oh, for God's sake, I can't be bothered today, and I don't want to do this, and I just cannot be bothered. And sometimes it's how you're thinking about that and how you're talking to yourself and how you're speaking to yourself can really stop you. And the most important thing for any of us is to feel our feet firmly on the floor every single morning. So when it comes to thinking styles, they're called thinking styles because it is things that it's how we think becomes nearly like a style. And I'm not saying that that I only think in one way all the time. I can have a lot of different thinking styles happening all at once. But when you start to really recognize how you're thinking about things, that gives you a wee bit more power over how to make changes to your thinking and how really to feel more positive about your day, about your life, about how you look, about what you're doing, because that's so important to our self-esteem and how we feel about ourselves as women. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk through a number of thinking styles. I have identified 10 of the most common negative automatic thinking styles. You cannot see this. I know you can't. It's far, far too bright. But there are 10 negative automatic thinking styles there. What I'm going to do under this video is I'm going to post these under the video. And I'm going to post another worksheet under the video as well. Because if you're finding that the way you're thinking about things is really having an impact on your life, it's now time to take back control. And the good news is, when you know how to do it, you can do it. And that's a really important message because sometimes when we're thinking negatively, we think there is no other way. So I'm here today to say that there is another way, and I'm going to talk through a couple of these negative thinking styles, and maybe, just maybe, you'll recognize yourself in some of these, right? I'll talk about my own predominant thinking style first because I deal with it on a day-to-day basis. And because I know what it is, doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. Yes, it still does, but the beauty of it is I put techniques and things into place to actually stop it in its tracks. And that allows me then to progress through the rest of the day. All right. So my predominant thinking style is catastrophizing. Right? Catastrophizing. What is catastrophizing? Well, it's when you make a big thing out of nothing. It's when you look for the negative in everything. When you make a catastrophe out of the simplest things. And I'll give you one example on how this played out in my life. I used to work in a job in Belfast, so I would have got up here at 6 o'clock in the morning. I would have got into the car at 6:45. I would have grabbed the steering wheel really, really, really tight. I had muscles in my arms, which were, I was very proud of them. But I was grabbing that steering wheel so tight, going up the road to Belfast. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is going to happen. And they're going to say this. And see when I get into the office and they're going to do and they will do. And I'm going to say, and see when I said that, then they'll say this and blah, 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 blah. An hour of constant pressure, an hour of constant thinking about all of the bad things that were going to happen. By the time I pulled my car into the office and got out of it, I already had myself built up into a state of anxiety, into a state of like near panic, because I was thinking of all these things that were going to happen that day. And of course, it was none of the good things. It wasn't like, oh, I'll go in and Tom will make me a cup of coffee because Tom always makes me a cup of coffee. It was not like, it was, and this is going to happen, and oh. And you know what? See, when I went into my office, all of those things that I had thought on the way up the road in the car, none of them happened. I mean, literally, none of them happened. So you would have thought I would have learned by that. But no, 8 hours later, when I was getting back into the car to drive down the road from work to home, another hour of doing exactly the same thing. I didn't know what it was. I just thought this is just my normal way of thinking. I didn't realize that there was even a thinking style, never mind a thinking style called catastrophizing. But see, the minute I identified what catastrophizing was doing to me, and what it really was doing to my feelings, my good feelings about myself, and my position, you know, in the workplace, and how people viewed me, and my self-confidence and my self-esteem, my thinking style was actually tearing the whole goodness out of me. It was tearing me apart, and I thought, well, this is just how it is. And it's just not how it is. Because once I was able to identify what that was, give it a name, and say, so that's what you are, a catastrophizing thought. So I was building these things up into a catastrophe. There are other thinking styles I just thought it would be interesting to mention mine. I'll talk later about how I then began to make changes to that, because thinking affects everything. Thinking affects our feelings. So if I'm thinking that way, how am I feeling about myself, how am I feeling about other people, it affects my behaviour. So I was like more, you know, jumpy and, you know, rushing about, and, you know, that high energy thing was affecting my behaviour, and it was also affecting me physically. By the time I got to work, my shoulders were bunched up like this, and my arms were tight. I could hardly get them straightened. So the way you think about things can really affect everything else in your life. And it's by recognising that thinking style that is the first helpful step for you. So there's one called jumping to conclusions. Is there anybody listening today that jumps to conclusions? You jump to conclusions that the person doesn't like you because they didn't speak to you. You jump to conclusions that, you know, you're not popular because not everybody's ringing you. You jump to conclusions that, you know, life is not going to change because, you know, life's just not going to change. So you can fill your life full of these jumping to conclusions. In actual fact, if you really were to drill down into that and think, you know, I'm jumping to a conclusion here, what impact would that have on your thinking style? Then there's the all or nothing. So it's either all in or all out. There is no middle ground. It's pure black and white. So if you're thinking it's pure black and white, you make a mistake and you see yourself as totally and utterly imperfect. And if you think that everything has to be perfect, including yourself, you know, that's going to affect you physically, emotionally. It's going to affect your behavior. There's other ones called disqualifying the positive. So if you're constantly, you know, somebody comes up and says, oh my God, Siobhan, look at that dress, isn't it beautiful? And of course, somebody did say that to me today because the dress is beautiful, right? And so what did I say to them? God, I have this old dress that's 10 years and I bought it in Primark and it was only £3. Like, seriously? Why didn't you just say, oh, thank you very much, this dress is lovely? So I'm disqualifying the positive things that people are saying to me by, you know, diminishing the look of the dress and saying, oh God, no, not me. There's nothing positive about me. And look in the mirror and I'm like, oh my God, look at that. Oh, sorry, I should not turn around that way. No, look at that. You're terrible looking, you're this, you're that, you're the other. And so you're keeping saying these things to yourself and you're disqualifying the fact that, you know what, at 48 years of age, sure, I look all right. So when we talk to ourselves in ways like that and we have a thinking style that really makes us feel a wee bit more negative, there are certain things that we can do really to help ourselves out of that. As I say, I'm going to put this sheet up. There are 10 thinking styles on it. Now, what I would advise you to do is just take a reread through them and don't immediately label yourself as, oh my God, I'm this catastrophizer. Oh my God, I disqualify everything positive. Oh my God, it's all or nothing for me. Because as we go through life, these things can blend together and they can change. But what I have found about myself is that predominance of the catastrophizing. So when I realized that my predominant thinking style was catastrophizing, and what impact that was having on me, how I felt about myself, how I felt about tasks that I was supposed to do or going to do, how I thought other people viewed me, how I thought, like how well I'm doing my job. When you're catastrophizing all the time, you're actually not even giving yourself a break to realize how wonderful you actually are and how good you actually are. So the reason I wanted to introduce the 10 negative automatic thinking styles is because once you can label it, once you can recognize, oh yes, well I do magnify and catastrophize, or I do use emotional reasoning. What you can do is use a simple wee worksheet. And again, I'm sorry for the quality there, you can see, but anyway, I'm going to post it up. I'm going to post it up because I think if we can manage to change your automatic thinking style into something more positive, well, you know what? Isn't that a great tool to have in your toolkit to, live this fabulous life that we're all trying to live? If you're fed up all the time, you don't want to be fed up all the time. And if you can do one thing for yourself, sure, isn't that a brilliant, brilliant start? So, first step is to label it. So, hello, my name's Siobhan, I catastrophize, right? So, that's okay. Even knowing that I catastrophize is it's enlightening. It means that I can change it because I have given it a name, right? So Siobhan the catastrophizer. So can you think about a time when you have catastrophized or whatever, and if you could say, oh my God, you're catastrophizing right now. So that's great. I know I'm catastrophizing, so what can I do? Give it no attention at all. Because sometimes your negative thoughts can be a very, very powerful thing. And if you're like, okay, I get that, I'm not doing it anymore, right, okay, I'm just going to leave you there, I'm paying you no attention. It's like a tantrum, a toddler having a tantrum. Sometimes when you try to lift them up, it just gets worse and worse and worse. So if you can just say, right, okay, happy enough to leave you there because you want my attention and I am just not giving it to you. And sometimes when we're thinking negatively, it's very, very difficult because it affects our confidence. So if you're thinking that you're no good, or I'm not good enough, or, God Almighty, look at the size of me, or God Almighty, look at my wrinkles, or God Almighty, I'm not doing a good job, sure, I'm not fit for that. Sure, I was told years ago that I wasn't good at that. Sure, why would I even think of trying to do that? There's something in that says stand up to it. Because your thinking can bully you, right? It can bully you into feeling bad about yourself. And if you can just say, right, okay, hold on one wee second. You're not doing this to me today. Because I know what you are now. I know the impact that you're having on me. And today is the day that I take your power away. So I'm standing up to you today. And I'm disempowering you completely. And you know what? That's good to do that. But sometimes we can let it slip back in, slip back in, slip back out. But it's really, really important as well is to give yourself a break. So give yourself a break. If I was having this thinking in my own head, and some of my friends says, but sure, Siobhan, really, what do you think that's all about? And is that going to happen? And that catastrophizing. If somebody that you loved said to you, you are worthy, you are beautiful, you are amazing, you are spectacular, you are fabulous, and you're sitting there going, oh, well, I'm rubbish, I'm crap, I can't do anything. Just give yourself a break and ask yourself, what would somebody I love say to me about how I'm thinking about this situation? And then you can say, right, okay, that's grand, I'm going through step by step by step, and the last thing that you can do is to look at it differently. And this is, oh my God, I do this all the time, So if something bad happens to me, I think, oh my God, it affects everything. It affects me. I can get hot and bothered, and it affects me emotionally, and I can feel tearful, and I can feel angry, and I can feel hurt, and I can feel annoyed, depending on what it is. There's things going on around us every single minute of the day. There are people, there are events, there's work, there's housework, there's homeschooling, there's loads of things going on every single day. So can you just take that tiny, tiny wee step back and say, well, how I'm feeling about this now, this event that has happened to me, or this thing that has happened to me, will it matter this time tomorrow? Will it matter in a week's time? Will it matter in a month's time? So why does it matter so much to me now? So there's something about that, being able to take that tiny wee step back and just say, will this matter in even 10 minutes or 15 minutes, depending on what it is. And you can question yourself as well, like, am I looking at the whole picture here? So if somebody has said something to you, or somebody has ignored you walking down the street, and you're waving and waving and waving at them, and they're like walking on, you think, they're looking at me, they've seen me, and they're not waving at me. Have you seen the whole picture? Because it happened to me with my cousin on Broad Street in Waterfeld. I'm wagging like mad at her. She's ignoring me, and I'm like, what have I done? Oh my God, I have to have done something. Why is she not talking to me? I sent her a Facebook message sometime later and says, listen, is everything okay? She went, why, what are you talking about? He says, I seen you in Broad Street, I spoke to you. She says, I was coming out of the optician, Siobhan, I just left my glasses in to get them fixed, I couldn't see a thing. Right? I did not see the whole picture. So there's something about looking at it differently. So if your thoughts are making you feel miserable, if they're making you feel, you know, if it's affecting your mood, if it's affecting you physically, if it's, you know, making you withdraw from people, there are these steps that you can take in terms of identifying, labeling, leaving it. It's a bully, leave it there, stand up to it, have the confidence to stand up to it. Give yourself a break. What's wrong with giving yourself a break from it? And then start to look at what's happening a wee bit differently. As I say, these 2 exercises I'm going to stick in the bottom of the post. And there's only one other thing that I want to say, and I know this video is a bit long, but some of the videos are long, some are short. You see the meditations that Louise is doing on a Sunday night? Our thoughts sometimes can be racing about our heads at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and we feel that we have no sense of control over them at all. So the meditations that Louise is doing on a Sunday night is one really positive thing that you can do for yourself, either every night, once a week, whenever it suits you. But by listening to Louise's meditation, actually, that allows your thoughts, you know, to come down, 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 until they're at a much more manageable level. Because sometimes I feel this like near panic in my chest. But see, when I listen to Louise's meditations, it just helps me to breathe. It just helps me to breathe, and it helps me to feel better. And it actually helps me to feel more in control and more focused on what I need to do, rather than the thoughts racing around my head, affecting how I feel about myself, affecting my behaviour, affecting everything, even negative thinking breeds negative thinking breeds negative thinking. And if we can just do one thing for ourselves every day, is to recognise that I'm thinking negatively and move away from the thought. Just simply move away from the thought. And that's a very powerful tool as well. So listen, thank you very much for listening. I hope there was something in that you found useful, and we'll be back to you again soon. Have a fabulous day. Bye.